show you how I finish up a paper piecing. I'm going to go ahead and share this particular file with you, so I'm not going to actually take you through the process of creating the file. However, I do want to take you through the process of completing it afterwards. Okay, what I have is I've cut out all the different pieces that I have here for my Cinderella. And I've already gone through and chalked and inked and done some of the other work that I like to do on my pieces. And I always like to do that prior to actually gluing them all together. The reason is that way I don't accidentally get pieces going over each other. Now I still do have to do the hair, and the reason I held off doing the hair is I wanted to show you some of the different things that I like to do. One of the things that I really like to use is the fluid chalk ink. And the reason that I like to use that is I like the soft angles and soft looks it gives for me. There's also your regular chalk that is awesome and lots of fun to use. This is just a personal preference, and I'm going to show you how I use it. When I do that, you're going to notice I don't go back and forth and saw. I just gently get my edges here so that I can get a nice kind of a shaded look around here. And I'm not really getting into it really deep. I just kind of want to go to a little bit of the outside, and you'll notice how it's starting to take on a little bit of color here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that around the entire edge of my hair. Well, as soon as I get around the hair of her, you're going to see there's still a lot of pieces in here that are not quite done the way that I want them. So I'm going to go ahead and get into those as well. Now, before I do any more of the actual inking part, I'm going to go ahead and come in here with my colored pencils. I like to take my colored pencils and just lightly kind of go over the edges. I can keep my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing here. And I just kind of go ahead and do my edges so it gives them just a little bit more of a solid, deeper edging. And you can see it's just kind of adding a little bit deeper color here. And I usually just find something that's just going to be a shade or two different than what I've got, but it's, you know, it's going to blend real nice. And you just experiment. What I usually do is I take a scrap of paper before I put this all together, and I'll go over that, or before I add my color, and see if it's going to work. Okay? And you can see I'm just going to go over on each of the pieces, and this is going to give me that look of giving the dimension in the hair. Now you're going to notice when I do this, where I've done the ink on here, it's got a little bit darker here and it's giving me a little bit lighter shading here. And I'm going to show you one of the ways you can go in and pick that up too, so you can see that shading just a little bit better. And there's a number of ways you can do that. Sometimes I'll use a Q-tip. Sometimes I'll just use the edging, and it just, you know, of the actual ink. It just depends on what kind of a look I need. And so I'm just going to go through. Basically, I'm just making my edges a little bit deeper color. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bit here. This piece right here is actually not going to be part of the hair, but it's part of where the ribbon goes. And so I'm just kind of going to put it in so it'll help give me a little bit of shadowing when it gets to that point. Okay, so now I'm going to take my piece here, or my ink here, and you can see I've added a lot of dimension and shadows to it, but I'm going to use just the tip of my piece here and just bring it out a little bit more. And see how it just kind of adds a little bit to it? And you just do it lightly. You don't need to do it a whole lot, but you're just kind of blending it out. And that's how I like to do it, is be able to just blend it out that way. Now, like I say, once in a while I will take a Q-tip if I'm not getting, if it's a lot smaller and needs to be a lot more detailed than that. But because it's on hair, I have a little bit of flexibility, and because I'm using a lighter color too, I have a little bit more flexibility. So I'm going to kind of bring that into that color a little bit more. And I go from looking like this to looking like this, and you can see that gives it a lot more dimension and a lot more look. Now, one of the things that I did when I made this file is you'll notice that I have a lot of dash marks, and those are just kind of my guidelines to help me be able to get better looks and kind of know where I'm going to put my color in, and it's just kind of some guidelines. And I like to do that a lot because sometimes when you get going, you kind of get to the thing and you're wondering where you want to put your shading. And you can see I did that same thing with these other pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start gluing my pieces together. And I always start and work from the bottom on up. Now this is the torso, okay? You're going to notice that I have some little dotted lines here. And I'm going to go ahead and take my dress, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the torso. And you'll see it just kind of fits right into that spot where I had the dashed line. And I'm going to go ahead and use my glue pen. And you can use whatever you want to. I prefer, when I'm doing paper piecing, I like to use a liquid glue. I usually use one that's a little bit thicker than this, but this is what I had handy today. I'm just going to go ahead and put my glue on here. And then take my top here, and again I use that little extra area there to give me the spot that I know where it's going to go. And you're going to see that goes right on that little edge there. Okay, so now I've got that part of her hair. Now I went ahead with the face. I'm going to leave that one here because I'm going to put this piece in here next. But before I do that, I just wanted to show you, I have the little lips that cut that out, and I cut all the little pieces out. You can see I just used pieces of squares of white paper to put on the back, and then I'll add the detail and that type of stuff to the face in a little bit. Normally I do everything first, with the exception of the face. And the reason I wait on the face is I want to have all the pieces together to make sure everything's going to look right, and then I can kind of shade in and it'll make it look the way I want it to. So I'm going to go ahead and put on Cinderella's hair. Again, if you look on here, I've got the markings of where the hair is going to go, so I know where to put my glue. So this is the way when I'm doing paper piecing that I want it, and I don't want to do it like have it layered onto a piece, but I want to have each actual kind of the old-fashioned paper piecing the way I do it here. So then I've got that piece on there. And I'm going to use my little, again, the little lines to tell me, to guide me where it goes. Looks like I need to have a little bit more glue right down in this one spot. And I may have a little excess piece there I need to go kind of behind. And that's okay. I'll just kind of pull it behind a little bit, and I'll work with that. There we go. Okay, so there's that part. Now you're going to notice also on this torso, I put a little spot in here. I have the little necklace. I went ahead and put it on there. I have a little dots to show that. And then I also had this little spot to show where the chin is going to go for Cinderella's face. So I can go ahead and bring that down into here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on here. And I may have to go back and glue some of these pieces because I'm not using I'm using one of my thin glue sticks, and so it may not hold as well. So there's that piece. I'm going to put her together. Now you'll notice that what I did with the torso is I actually made it so that it's all going to come together as one piece, but it gave me something to attach everything to. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in her hair piece. And again, I'm just going to follow the little guidelines that I gave myself when I cut it out. I put on their little dash lines, so that when it cut out, it didn't actually cut those lines, it just put little dash lines. And now I'm going to go ahead and put her hair piece on. Again, I'm just following those little lines.